Welcome everyone to this week's collective learning meeting. Please remember to mute your microphones unless you want to ask a question. Please wait until the end of the presentation to ask questions, and please feel free to use the chat box. If you type a question there, I, Christine Tang, can ask the question for you. Our presenter today is Darrell Kwei, who founded Current Sage to promote the field of system dynamics and to disseminate his findings on systems thinking to the Ghanaian and West African people. Yeah, please take it away, Darrell.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to say thank you, all of you, for coming to this presentation. So today we are going to be talking about Ghana and Ghana's non-developmental social studies curriculum. Yes, so first of all, I want to introduce you to Ghana. So Ghana is a multi-party sovereign democracy of 30 million people. She is heavily dependent on foreign and international assistance to stay economically afloat as she struggles to maintain and improve the quality of living of her people, a goal espoused in her current constitution. Ghana, like most African nations, is a youthful population with very conservative beliefs who do not have high standards of living. But unlike most African nations, she has a relatively peaceful political climate, and she is also not overwhelmed by high inflation rates, and also Ghana is also one of the Ghana is also what do you call it? Not totally underdeveloped. Actually, she has access to electricity, potable water, healthcare, and the internet. But that doesn't mean that those aspects of the quality of living are desirable. They are very far from desirable. Yeah. So, but if we're to ask any Ghanaian to summarize the country's situation at this very moment, they will tell you that, first of all, public debt is too high, and unemployment rate is unacceptably high. Also, the underdevelopment situation is abominable. They just cannot understand it. Also, these issues are a mix of social and economic issues, but this does not mean that these are the only issues facing the Ghanaian people. No. Politicians and political parties promise and pledge to solve these and other social problems. And based on their aggressive propaganda, they secure mandates to manage the country, but they end their tenure without having appreciably solved the problems. And I always ask, why? I mean, what is the cause of these problems? Why have their solutions eluded our leaders? And why aren't these problems just going away, but are intensifying instead? It is very, very worrying. Now, Ghana's curriculum is not developmental. It is focused on facts. It's too much based on history, and it also lists problems as fragments. And fragments just disorient leaders. It drives their attention from seeing the real structures and focusing on the connections and influences that permits these problems to grow out of their control. But that's how social studies, the Ghanaian social studies curriculum presents problems. And unfortunately, Ghanaians leave senior high school with this kind of mindset that they know the solutions to all their problems because they have learned it already. So when they are given the opportunity to serve in public organizations or in corporate organizations, they cannot function. They cannot function effectively. They cannot see the big picture. They lack the big picture of Ghana. They are unable to adequately solve their problems. And that is all. And for me, I believe that is fundamentally the cause of Ghana's non-developmental social studies curriculum. Also, I also have a theory for why the curriculum behaves the way it does. So first of all, I think that students are merely remembering. As a facts-based and shopping list curriculum, social studies is just helping students to remember more of what Ghana is. It's just to remember more problems and things about Ghana. They are not learning, they are not thinking, they are just memorizing facts, memorizing problems, memorizing theories and other things. Yes. Kindly excuse me for a minute, I'll be back.
So for those who just joined, our presenter had to step away for a while, but please feel free to look at his causal diagram while we wait, I guess. Oh, back.
Sorry for that. Yeah. So I was just saying that our social studies curriculum is based on remembering facts, remembering problems, and students aren't thinking. You understand? So this causal loop diagram is my theory for what is actually happening. So it's basically saying that the students are remembering social studies more. And in the short term, it actually increases the grades they earn because that's how the system rewards them. It rewards them for remembering. It asks them about definitions, giving example, remembering times and dates and figures, percentages, and so many other things. All these things, when they are able to memorize them effectively, they earn good grades. And so it also motivates them to remember more. Have you seen? But the more they remember, the less they think and learn. You see, the less they think and learn, and that increases their motivation to memorize. It increases their motivation to memorize, and so they keep memorizing. They forget thinking, which is the balancing loop, in the feedback process. Yes. So now the problem. So now for me, I also have a more expanded view of this problem. You see, I think that when students think less, they understand less. And when they understand less, it actually increases the gap between the desire they have to understand it and how much they really understand. That will reduce the grades they earn in the long run. Because when they actually are under pressure and examination pressure, and they have to solve the problems, they have to apply concepts and apply principles, they forget everything because they have memorized too much and they understand little. So what happens? Their grades reduce. And this is evident in the performance of students in social studies since 2013. Yes, their performance has been trending downwards and fluctuating, despite their best efforts to memorize all the things that they have learned. Now, for me, I believe that education must be transformative. If education were transformative, perhaps it would be more appealing to international investors. We could produce more entrepreneurs, more local entrepreneurs, or we would have more ethical managers of our state-owned enterprise, because when when the educational curriculum actually transforms people are likely to be more ethical managers, and they'll be committed to solving problems because they are actually committed to the nation's agenda, the nation's vision, and they are capable of handling the capabilities that are given to them. In this instance, Ghana's educational curriculum is more informative. It's so informative that they actually go to university, higher education, pursue higher education, get a degree for a specialization, but only to apply skills they can't. So now the transformative curriculum, for me, it is really systems thinking. And for those who don't know what systems thinking is, for the benefit of the people who will be watching this on YouTube and not get the opportunity to ask questions, systems thinking is, for me, the definition that I really like is Peter Senge's definition, a discipline for seeing wholes. Because when students are able to see holes, they are more enthusiastic. They can actually understand more about the nation's problems. They are more committed to solving the nation's problems. They feel empowered that yes, I can also solve these problems. But the transformative curriculum also depends on teachers' commitment. Now, the thing about teachers' commitment is that currently, as we speak, Ghanaian teachers are not capable, of making the social studies curriculum transformative. They can't. It will still be informative. The social studies curriculum is supposed to be informative by the design of the curriculum. You see, but if our teachers were more committed, because let me explain what I mean by commitment. Teachers are, at this point in time, teachers are more focused on their economic, status or situation. They are not bothered about the well-being of the students in terms of how much the students actually understand the capabilities of their students to solve national problems, their commitments. There's nothing like that in this case. So the teachers need to be committed, and that's what will make the transformative curriculum actually work. It will make systems thinking flourish in Ghana. It will make the benefits that systems thinking provides actually better. Yes, because if the teachers are not committed and they are still myopic, self-serving, they will not be able to make the transformative curriculum flourish as it's supposed to be. And that will actually maybe reduce even national development. That's why I said that to have a transformative curriculum, we need to communicate the faults in the existing curriculum. We have to increase we have to increase communication about what the curriculum is failing to do for us, especially as we strive to become more developed as a nation, to become a truly developing nation. Because at this point, the developing nation is just a tag to show that we are not really doing much, because Ghana is not a developing nation. It's actually a nation that is slowing in its development pace, and that's very, very sad. So for Ghana to really have a transformative curriculum that can increase her ability to develop, she needs to communicate the faults in the existing curriculum. She also needs to develop the teacher's ability to teach systems thinking, because at this point, teachers are, as I already said, they don't know much about systems thinking. Systems thinking is basically new here, even though it was developed, I think, 70 years ago. I think that would be right. It's, even though it was developed 70 years ago at MIT, it is still very new here. We don't even know what it is. And so if we can increase the teacher's ability to teach systems thinking, it means that we need to focus more on how they can learn it, how they can be effective teachers in the classroom, how they can actually teach it in a way that will increase the students' understanding, appreciation for it, and that will actually motivate the students to solve and to be committed to the development agenda of Ghana. We also need to communicate the benefits to the public. I actually think that the communicating the benefits of systems thinking to the Ghanaian people can be done alongside the development of teachers' ability to teach it. Because when the teachers are being taught how to think structurally about Ghanaian problems and how they can actually solve these problems, they will be more capable of teaching the systems thinking to enable the students to pick it up and to also be committed to solving the nation's agenda. Then we need to deploy the curriculum, and that's actually going to be the hardest part, because when there's political division about the benefits of the curriculum, is going to be disastrous. Deploying the curriculum is one of the most disastrous things a political party can do at this moment, because it does not promise jobs. It's not a curriculum that will promise X thousand jobs or X million jobs in X years of my incumbency as a president or even as a parliamentarian. It can't do that. It doesn't do that. It's supposed to develop the capability of students to think. And if you cannot promise the people that you get jobs, then they'll view it as simply another burden on them. And that's not what systems thinking is supposed to do. And I think I want to turn to resource development and utilization, because this is Ghana's biggest challenge. Actually, this is where the problem is. I actually have a working theory that resource development has to do with resources, their development and how they are used. It has to do with natural resources, human resources, and capital resources. Now, this is where Ghana's problem is, because I know from a very, very basic point of view, Ghana can grow, and Ghana will grow if the natural, when natural resources are exploited, it will cause the development of people to also increase. So then there will be a positive relationship. When people are being developed more, they are used more. The more people you use, the more resources you are able to exploit. The more resources you exploit, the more you develop people to exploit them, the more you use them, so you have a reinforcing growth loop. You have a reinforcing feedback loop that will actually increase Ghana's ability to develop. I think that's where the actual growth happens, where you are handling natural resources and human resources. They are not separate items. They actually form a system that propels the ability of your country to grow. And that's what I'm about to discuss next. But for now, I'd like to have your questions, just in case anyone has any questions.
Kalish.
Hi, Darrell. I mean, this is so brilliant having to hear you talk about Ghana. So I'm Kelechi, and I'm joining in from a neighboring country, Nigeria. So I really can understand a lot of what you've said. But I understand also that you're quite young, and it's also interesting to hear someone who, at the age where you are currently, I never knew anything about systems thinking. So I guess the question for me to you is like, how are you teaching yourself systems thinking? And then how do you view your knowledge of systems thinking in being able to say, I guess maybe you're still a student, and how that is maybe helping you to excel above those who do not know systems thinking? Because I do understand, especially when you share the challenge of like, teachers are more interested in giving back to them what they gave you. Like if you are trying to pass an exam, you probably need to stick to what you were taught, even though you might have something that might be transformational, but they don't need that. They need what they gave to you. So have you had like challenges when you maybe have to discuss with other students or with your teachers about the issue of systems thinking, and they find it conflicting with what they already have for you in your curriculum?
Okay, so should I take that one first before I have other questions? Christine.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
I was asking, am I going to take all the questions and then respond to them one by one, or should I answer them as they are asked?
Answer them one by one.
Okay. So to the first part of your question, how am I learning systems thinking? I received a book from my father from Peter, called The Fifth Discipline from Peter Senji, the original book, you see. And when I read the book at first, in fact, to be very honest, when he gave me the book, I was like, this is about organizations, and I'm just a young person, so how can I be learning about something managers are learning at my very young age? That time I was 18 years old, just 1 year ago, 2020. That's when he gave it to me. So that's when but when I read the book, and he talked about the problems of thinking from fragments point of view. You see, for example, let's say when they are doing politics, you see, when the politician gets up to the rally and he's saying, we don't want more inflation, we don't want more public debt, and we don't want more unemployment. You see, he just listing problems. You see, he's just listing them. We don't want this, we don't want that, we don't want that. And actually, these things, these aspects, while they are important, while these issues are very important, they are part of something larger. You see, you cannot just say that it's irrelevant. You can't just brush some things aside. Some things are systemic. And when you lose that system's perspective, and you are looking at things from a fragment point of view, you lose sense of the bigger picture. You cannot make actions. You cannot take actions and make decisions that can actually produce the change that I want. That's what I learned, and that's what I saw in politics. That's what I saw in politics. And so learning about systems thinking was basically how I thought I was going to be learning more about this, how I was going to be learning more about this, how I could be more effective in case I were in that kind of situation, how to think in the from a holistic perspective, and to avoid, speaking from fragment point of view. Because fragments, for me, I believe that fragments, they divert attention. They divert attention away from looking at the connection between certain things into looking at how you can solve, how you can make this particular aspect better. You see, in this case, the real goal that a politician might actually want to see, that we want to bring more development to Nigeria or to Ghana or to West Africa as a whole. We want to bring more development. And so if we want to do that, it means that we have to take these actions so that we can sustain the development, so that we can actually reduce the incidence of this bad effects happening. But then they don't do that. They actually just, they don't know it. So they come with their own, policy, their own mindset about the problem, and then they pour it out onto the people. So that is what I learned from Peter Senji's faith discipline. And that's why I was learning more about systems thinking, and also about how teachers can be more committed to teaching. You see, I think that systems thinking to be difficult for West Africans, as a whole, and any West African country to actually learn about it, because it is not something that you just learn. You see, it's a discipline that you have to keep practicing and practicing, and you have to keep paying attention to, what do you call it, the principles. For example, one of the principles in systems thinking is problems grow worse before they become better. I think one of the best examples of this principle that I hold dear from systems thinking is for example, the coronavirus said, that when governments want their people, want things to keep going smoothly, they don't want to make decisions that will make them look unpopular. But then at the same time, they also have to preserve lives. Preserving lives has to do with making decisions that the people don't want to hear, making decisions that people don't want to be affected by. Those kinds of things that's where the problem is. And that is how things grow worse before they become better. Because people will always resist. People will say that I cannot stay home because I need money to earn. I need money to stay alive, to feed my family, to keep everything in check. So in much the same way, if West Africans want to learn about systems thinking, it will need to be a coordinated effort from everyone, not one particular person or one group of people. Even if one political party, I always say it, even if one political party intends to make systems think, to incorporate systems thinking into the social studies curriculum, to make it more transformative, it will be difficult. It will still be difficult because the other side would disagree. The other side would disagree because it does not promise jobs. It does not guarantee employment. It only guarantees personal development, a better way of thinking, a better way of solving problems. And those kinds of, and the better way of solving problems is an unpopular way of, getting things done. And that is the big problem. So for systems thinking to be actually, to become something in West Africa, to be incorporated into our curriculum, especially the social studies curriculum, I think it will take more than just teachers. It will take more than just politicians, and it will take more than just the people. It will take all of them together, and a realization that we need to do things better now and going forward. So that's all I have to say for now. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you, Darrell. You've said so much even beyond the question. I guess for me is to leave it here so that I can continue your presentation.
Okay.
Darrell, Sengi also said, the harder you push on the system, the harder it pushes back.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yes.
So how do you approach what it is that you're trying to do in a way that's not pushing on the system, so that you're not getting the resistance?
Well, to answer that question, how would one not necessarily me, but hopefully me, how would one approach this so that the resistance would be less intense? I think our approach is the same way the Bill O'Brien told Peter Sengi in the book, that business actually has the potential to do the things, to do the things that matter, to do the things that are beneficial. If we had an organization like what I intend to build, that I intend to make Current Sage more capable of propagating systems thinking, of developing people's abilities to solve problems, bigger social problems. Then I think that the best answer will be business, because business allows people to choose. It does not impede on people. It doesn't tell people that you need to do this. It only provides an opportunity to learn about. So I think that Current Sage or a business can actually make systems thinking more known about in West Africa. Yes, that's a business that can actually go down to where the teachers can't think at this point, to go deep into the minds of the students and help them elevate their thinking from the linear fragments-based thinking to the systems thinking, looking at having a holistic view of the system. And I think that's going to be the most effective way of actually solving that. Yes.
I just posted a link for you that you might find really interesting if you haven't seen it. It's a TED Talk about, if you've got a wicked problem, first tell me how you make toast.
It sounds like Barry Richmond.
Darrell, one question from my side is more on the part of the transformative curriculum. When you look at it, what you presented was more for the stages you go through. But what will be ideal for Ghana to say that what will be the target group which you can start with to make sure that you can start building the direction you want to achieve in terms of embedding systems thinking into the curriculum?
But I think that the best way to do that is to go to where it isn't already. So that means that I'll be targeting senior high school students, or probably junior high school students graduates. So that means that people from the ages of 15 to 20 years old. I hope you understand. If I target people from 15 to 20 years old, what schools can't do is what I'll be doing, and for the same kind of people, so that when those people get into the reins of authority, they can make the decisions that demonstrate that they actually understand systems thinking and are applying it as well. Yes, I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you. I really appreciate the point that you are starting to talk about systems thinking being brought into the education system at your age. This is quite remarkable in terms of the way you are coming forth with that. I wish all the politicians could listen to what you are trying to raise and try to drive. So keep on pushing.
Thank you.
Kelechi.
Yeah, so Darrell, I think one thing you should know is that I myself also tried introducing systems thinking, particularly system dynamics, in my secondary school after I had left. But like introducing it in the curriculum was like very difficult because we know that there's like standards, you get curriculum from the government. And if you want to start that from the school, they need like approvals and to understand better how that adds to what they are currently doing. But one of the solutions I found was having to try the systems thinking games. Like you could find easier ways of making systems thinking, knowledge dissemination interactive and fun. It could be something that will happen during the free time of students. And that's on one hand. And on the other hand, I mean, we struggle with a lot of not just the inability of politicians, leaders, policymakers to maybe understand the value of systems thinking, but even after they understand, or a lot of work has been done in getting like very detailed systems thinking reports on what the direction should be in terms of development, we find it helpless or wasteful if the implementation is bad. So I will share one example. Like for instance, in 2020, there was an ISDG report that was done for Nigeria. It was even celebrated at in New York during the UN summit. But that fantastic report, the model built, is just there. In terms of implementation, we find that after so much has been put in, it's really not working. So people aren't paying attention. Like you rightly noted, it's like a short-term thing for the politicians. If I do this long-term thing, what will people say about me? By the time it begins to bear fruit, I will be long gone. So we have all these challenges that I'm hoping that with what you're trying to do with SAGE, it really begins to reorient people in our generation, people in my generation, in your generation, to have like, let's consider the long-term benefit type of thought process. So thank you, Darrell.
Thank you.
Joseph?
Hey, Darrell. Really great to meet you virtually. It's incredible the work that you've been doing. I'm also have like a personal interest in education and applying systems thinking to improving the education system. So it's great to hear that you're also doing that. Just kind of wanted to ask, like why social studies as a means for systems thinking education, as like, I feel like you might not want to like limit yourself, because I know you've talked about like using systems thinking to solve social problems. And I think I personally also, I'm like very interested in like more of like the soft systems and applying systems thinking that way. But in terms of like, if you go into schools, you might find that there might be a science teacher that's more receptive to systems thinking, right? And what would you do in that situation? So like, I know there's like a lot of like resources out there on like I believe it's like the learning exchange, or there's like, yeah, that have different exercises that might be, more associated with like a science class or like a math class that could be interesting to look at. And then also, if you're looking kind of on the teacher education side, it might be good to like reach out to some of the teacher preparation programs and start trying to introduce the concepts there. because going directly to teachers that are already in the classroom and then trying to change their practices might be difficult. It might have some resistance there, but if you catch them, right before they go into the field, might be more receptive to that. But just wanted to kind of hear your thoughts about that and like why maybe social studies in particular.
Okay. First of all, I want to say that your question is very, very legitimate and it's a great question. It's a good question. Yes. And I'm also very happy to meet all of you as well. And also, I think that the reason why I was so interested in systems thinking, especially in social studies, was because, you see, I've noticed that the system, that is Ghana, we are trending toward three slots. People are trying to fulfill their own ambition. They are trying to be famous. They are trying to be successful. People want these things. They are not interested in exactly. They are no longer interested. Actually, I think that's the better. They are no longer interested in the benefits of having professional skills for work. They want to be in positions of influence. They want to have, some power, something to say that, yeah, I am this guy, you ought to know me, so on and so forth. So the reason why I said social studies, because social studies is, for me, a subject that should present Ghana for what it is, a system. And if we were to teach social studies with systems thinking, then we will be reaching a much broader audience. So if I will be reaching every single West African that goes to secondary school, that's what we'll be doing. Instead of, because social studies is a curriculum that is intended for every single West African. So if we want to teach systems thinking and make it available to every single West African, every single person who is capable of making decisions in future for the society and for corporations, for people, for the international community and other important stakeholders, then I think that we should be targeting people who will be inclined to push from social studies to other fields, especially fields that have to do with public policy, fields that have to do with economics, and fields that have to do with people. That's what I think, because that's where the complexity is. People have their own mindset, and if people are, and especially knowing that the system is moving towards politics as well as it's moving towards music and it's moving towards entertainment and so on, it means that we need to target the social studies curriculum. We need to target people more directly, because we don't want people who will be, people who don't think about who don't think clearly about everything. They just want to be in their position and just enjoy the benefits of it. We need people who can actually, who will be committed to development. And that's something that systems thinking naturally engenders. That's what I think. So if I want systems thinking to impact anybody, I want it to impact every single person that goes to school. And social studies is one of them. It's one of the aspects that can do that. And about why not other subjects? Well, math is there, science is there. Yes, it's true. But if we were to be doing that, I think that math and science would focus more on the modeling aspect of it. We'll focus more on the modeling aspect of it. And social studies would be like the application of those modeling aspects in the big picture thinking. So instead of students just drawing causal loop diagram, perhaps they might come up with their own models for, okay, so based on their systems thinking curriculum in math or in science, in social studies, this is how I believe the problem looks like. From if I were to model it, this is how it looks like. These are the stocks, maybe the number of trees for these are the stocks, these are the flows, and this is the behavior the system generates. This is what I would do to make the system behave in this manner. And I think social studies would be an application of the mathematical aspects of systems thinking, like system dynamics especially. So social studies would be more about the thinking, and the math and science will be more about the modeling aspect of it. That's what I think. Yes. So I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, it was really interesting hearing. Like, I think that definitely meets your like long-term goal of like influencing like people in power, right? They making sure that they have that systems thinking background.
Yes.
I was curious. You said you had more slides. Do you want to continue, or do you want to just continue the conversation? And I somewhat want to call out 2 teachers I know in here. Sherry.
Okay, then just call them at the when we finish. If there's still time, then we can continue with it.
If they're willing to talk, but it's not necessary. So Sherry Weaver is the director of the teacher prep program at WPI, and I don't know if you have attempted to bring systems thinking into the teacher prep program to teach math and science teachers systems thinking or system dynamics. And Kareem also has taught some courses in high school, I believe, but mainly he teaches system dynamics at WPI.
10 years I taught in high school. We had our biggest uptake. I understand what Darrell's saying, and I agree with him actually. But our biggest uptake for modeling was environmental science first, always. And then the other sciences and math, of course, in that order. Very hard to get it in other areas. That's the thing we've had. And part of the problem isn't that they aren't interested. The problem that we always ran into, because I worked with these teachers, they didn't have any time to learn it and figure out how to use it. They wanted materials that could just be handed to them and plugged directly into the curriculum they were already using. That was always the issue.
Yeah, I agree with Kareem about that. And either and also in terms of teacher education, you know, it's a challenge to put all of the things in. However, Darrell, I would love to talk with you about how to influence teachers. And I work with pre-service teachers, but our center, we do professional development for in-service teachers. And so this has been some work that I've done, not specifically in system thinking or system dynamics, but I would definitely appreciate engaging in that work.
Okay.
So just to clarify, in-service means they're currently teaching, and I forgot what you used. So before
pre-service. Thank you, Christine. Yeah, we get caught in our lingo. So pre-service are students that are in teacher preparation programs, and in-service are teachers who are already in the classroom teaching. Yes, thank you so much. And Darrell, I'll put my contact info in the chat if you want to reach out.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I can go on with the second part of this. Okay, right. So I was talking about Ghana's biggest problem. Now, Ghana's biggest problem is resources, how it develops its people, and then how it utilizes the people to exploit those resources. Now, in I don't know, for some reason, Ghana is caught up in focusing more on the GDP of things, you know, like the gross domestic product and the national income, public debt. We are interested in the macro of everything, but we have a very linear mindset concerning those things. And when I learned social studies in school, we knew that the resource development and utilization actually helps Ghana to develop. It helps Ghana to grow. So to grow economically, then it would develop. So I created a small model. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so I hope you can all see it. So yeah, so just to clarify, I'm using Vensim Personal Learning Edition. Vensim, yeah. And so I created a small model. This is my model. So according to this model, when we exploit more resources, then we have to build more, we have to develop more people. The more we develop people, the more we utilize them. the more we utilize them, the more they exploit our resources. And so you have a reinforcing feedback loop. This is how the feedback process is. I'm going to zoom in a little so that in case you can't see, you can see. So you have a reinforcing feedback process. So this is what I call the growth loop. This is what I call the growth loop. I call it the growth loop. I call it the growth loop because this is how Ghana will grow. When we develop more people and when we utilize more people, then we can exploit more resources. And when we exploit more resources, we have to develop more people. Yeah, I see that Mr. Jean has a question, so I'll let him ask. Yeah.
Darrell, do you find that they're actually short-circuiting the people development and just going from natural resource exploitation to people utilization back to natural resource exploitation?
Well, for me, this is how I usually start building my model. So first, I start with like my basic belief of what the system is. That so my basic theory is that when we exploit our resources, then we will have to develop more people. When we develop more people, then we have to utilize them. So we are actually increasing the number of people we use. And when we increase the number of people we use, we are able to develop more resources. But I know that one of the most the aspects that is also very important to the conversation is unemployment. So when we have unemployment, I can say that utilization affects unemployment. Utilization affects unemployment, and unemployment affects utilization. So this is the second loop. So I'm going to explain that. Excuse me. So I'm going to explain what I just did a minute back. Let me just rename this one. So what my model is basically saying is when we develop more people, we increase the number of people that we use to utilize to exploit our resources. When we are using more people, we are actually reducing the number of people we don't use. So we are reducing unemployment, because that's what unemployment is, the number of people who aren't being used to develop things. And so when we reduce unemployment, we are reducing utilization. And in the events that we are not actually increasing the number of the number of people that we use, so in the event that utilization actually reduces, then unemployment increases. And when unemployment increases, it will further reduce the number of people that we use. So we have another growth process where that increases unemployment. We also increase the number of people that we don't use. That's unemployment. So we are increasing, so unemployment increases and growth reduces. So it's like, I think this is a typical example of the escalation archetype. Yeah, I think where we are shifting from one to another. I think this is where Ghana is right now, because you see, Ghana it's not utilizing more people, it's actually using less people. More people are being developed, but they are not being used. And so we are increasing unemployment. We are increasing unemployment, reducing the number of people that we don't use. And then we are increasing the number, we are reducing our ability to exploit more resources. So this is also the second thing I learned. This is the second observation that I came to, how we are, hurting ourselves as a country by focusing more on unemployment instead of focusing more resources. Mr. Jim, I see your answer is still up. Is there a question?
Jean, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I just forgot to put my hand down.
Okay, so yeah, so this is the problem. So then this is actually my understanding of the problem. Now, my understanding of the problem is that when we use less people and unemployment is growing, then we are reducing the number of the amount of capital that we form. So this allows me to say that, well, people, the more people we use, the more they earn. So let's say income earned. The more they earn, the more they have in their amount in bank accounts. And the more they earn also increases, the more they earn increases tax income available to government. So let's say tax income. And then we also, when tax income also increases, in social studies, tax income increases the amount of machines we have to exploit more resources. Machines available. Machines available. So excuse me, escape. So people utilization increases income and increases tax income. Tax income increases machines available. Income and also increases amount in bank account. Now, machines available increase natural resources. And machines available also increase. So amount in bank accounts increases, also increases savings. Yeah, if people have more in their bank account, it means that the amount that they would save would increase, even if they consume a higher percentage of it. Because when it increases, then my understanding is when they have more in their bank account, then they will increase their consumption, yes, but then the amount of savings that they now have in their bank account will be higher than it actually is. So that will increase savings. I hope it is understood. Now, increasing savings increases another variable that I call what do you call it? Investment capital. So increased savings increases investment capital. Investment capital increases what do you call it? Machines are available. I don't know. This is a messy looking model. Let me just fix that. Basically, my point is that if governments thought more like this, they will be solving more problems than causing them. So I think I have. Let me see if I have a feedback. Let me see if I have a feedback loop. So when people utilization increases, income earned increases. Income earned increases machines available. Machines available increases natural resource exploitation. Also exploitation, and amounts in bank balance increases savings. Savings increase investment capital. Investment capital increases the machines available, and machines available increase natural resource exploitation. So we can say that. So then this is where I get stuck at. So then if you guys can help me, I appreciate it too.
We have only about 2 minutes left, just so you know. And
Yeah, okay.
in
Mhm.
my opinion,
So
this is another presentation. I thought that we would mainly talk about how to talk about teacher.
Yeah, okay, so let me just say that this is actually how social studies should help, students think about resource development in Ghana, because this is Ghana's biggest problem. And if we really want to solve our problems, then we have to start using new ways of thinking to actually generate solutions for our problems, solutions that are sustainable, that will reflect that we are thinking from a holistic point of view. So yeah, that's what I really want to communicate today. Yeah. So thank you very much for this.
Thank you for presenting. Does anyone have any quick questions or comments?
Just very well done, Darrell.
Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, I'm reading in the chat what people are saying because I don't know if you can see it. A lot of people are saying thank you and they had to leave.
Darrell, when you get this CLD worked up, you want to mail me a copy?
Okay.
I just put my email in the chat.
Okay.
And I'll think about it and send you some thoughts.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks so much, Darrell. I'll maybe send you an email and we can connect another time to discuss about this more, but thanks so much.
Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you.